Good evening, viewers. I am Kendell Richmond, and welcome to another edition of the Regional News. We begin with news from the new Republican island, Barbados. Barbadians will be determining their path of governance for the next 5 years on Wednesday. The country's elections will be held in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic that continues to see an increased number of infections, which has led to about 5,700 people isolated at home and in facilities up to Monday and prohibited from casting their ballots. On Tuesday night, the courts threw out a last-minute challenge to stop the poll, which was brought by candidate Philip Nathaniel Caitlin of the Barbados Sovereignty Party. Justice Cecily Chase's ruling paved the way for the election to take place after Caitlin, who is running in St. Thomas, sought a restraining order against the holding of the election until a later date to cater for the thousands of electors who are in quarantine. Meanwhile, the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, EBC, has revealed the voters' list reviews shows that there are just over 266,000 people eligible to vote. Now for news from Trinidad and Tobago. Miss World representative Janine Brandt's recent statement at the Miss World pageant in Puerto Rico has come under heavy scrutiny from the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago over her depiction of the Twin Island. Brandt, a beauty from San Fernando, during the Beauty with a Purpose segment on Monday, said that there were thousands of children in Trinidad and Tobago living in abject poverty with no access to running water, electricity, and education. She also added that there is no access to health care and persons often do not know where their next meal is coming from. The video clip of Brandt making the statements began circulating on social media on Tuesday, stirring a lot of emotions among citizens who either agreed or were angered by her statements, calling it lies. In response to this controversy, the beauty, in a subsequent statement, noted that her intention was never to portray the Twin Island nation in a negative light or to bring ill repute to the Miss World Trinidad and Tobago franchise. We now look at news from Martinique. An appeals court in the French Caribbean island of Martinique on Tuesday dismissed a request from groups seeking slavery reparations in a blow to efforts that began more than 15 years ago. The court provided several reasons for its ruling, noting there's a statute of limitations for those crimes and that a French law already allows the implementation of certain measures meant to bring a memorial contribution to the recognition of slavery and the slave trade, and that it is not for the judiciary to decide if those measures are sufficient. Undeterred by Tuesday's ruling, the International Movement for Reparations and others who joined the lawsuit against the French government vowed to seek a Supreme Court ruling on a civil legal procedure they launched in 2005. French courts have repeatedly rejected the request, but it was the European Court of Human Rights that kept it alive by making their claims admissible. And finally, on tonight's regional news. The U.S. Navy's USS Milwaukee, together with U.S. Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment, seized an estimated $22 million in suspected cocaine on January 7 while operating in the Caribbean Sea. While on patrol, a maritime patrol aircraft spotted a suspected drug smuggling go-fast vessel. Packages were also observed being thrown into the water. After receiving permission to conduct a boarding, the authorities recovered the packages and 5 suspected drug traffickers were detained. And that concludes tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching.